Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, party people, it is Wednesday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan, with me as always, my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 187 on a motherfucking cop. No, of Gridiron Grinder. And for tonight, we're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium, like we always do. Then we're going to recap the news from this past week. After that, we're going to give you guys our round two mock draft. The draft is just right around the corner here. We're like 24 hours out, basically. And then last but not least, we'll close it off with our question of the week. And so, yeah, with all that being said, how's it going tonight there, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good, a little bit bummed, to be honest. The draft is in Detroit, and it doesn't look like I'm going to make it down there, but it's okay. Just kind of timing and some family stuff and personal stuff. It's not working out this time around, but that's okay. Maybe in one of the future years, I will travel to the draft because going back to when they first moved it and they had it in Chicago, and then what was it, last year they had it in Vegas or whatever. It just looks like they're doing a lot of cool stuff. Especially, I like the.
Last year was Kansas City. The year before was Vegas.
Thank you, thank you.
Because I remember it was like after they won the Super Bowl, so I was kind of
Oh,
hoping that would
gotcha.
work out for Detroit this year.
Yeah, and I like, that they're doing these like part outdoor venues for it too, right? And
Mm.
um, so I'm gonna miss it this year, but I'll get to watch, I would say, most of it on TV still. And then in a future year, who knows? Maybe you and I will meet up, go have some fun or something.
Yeah, I was initially I couldn't end up making it work out with shit going on, but was looking at traveling back to Detroit for the draft, but wasn't able to work it out with
Yeah.
things the wife's doing this weekend, and
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
whatever.
That's family stuff, man. It happens. All right. Well, hey, when you're ready, dude, why don't you do some Name That Stadium for us?
As you can see, I'm traveling around different stadiums that host NFL games. First person guesses right. We'll give them an extra special shout out the following week's show, which actually this one I believe we're off next week and probably off for the next
Yes.
2 weeks because of
So we'll
whatever.
make it an extra special shout out.
Exactly. And for those that are watching, I'm obviously somewhere that I go regularly because I love the stadium. But last week did I go Chicago last week? Yeah, I think I did Chicago last week. And it was because we were doing the first round mock draft and Chicago was the number one pick, blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and so hey, hopefully we'll get a taker, and if we don't, whatever, life goes on, right? So
Yeah.
um, let's just keep it rolling here, and we'll do our recap of the past week, James. And so, just taking a look at some of the news from around the league, the Lions have a couple contract extensions. They've extended wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown to a 4-year, $120 million deal. I think you were saying his had something like 70 something million in guarantees.
Yeah, I have where'd it go? It was 77 million guaranteed, which is the highest guarantee in a single contract given to a wide receiver, topping
Okay.
Cooper Cup by 2 million. We were talking about it a little before the show. It's a 5-year extension, but the fifth year is void.
Yeah, garbage,
And
fucking bullshit, but okay.
yeah, and I mean, I don't. It doesn't make sense because honestly, why give the fifth year? Because the it spreads the signing bonus out over the 5 years instead of four, but it's only 1.7 million. So if you that's four, that's only like $400,000 that they're saving by giving the
Yeah,
fifth
that
year
seems kind of
fifth void.
strange.
It's weird.
Huh. I wonder if by having the void year, if they restructure next year or the year after, it gives them like more wiggle room to play around with it or something. I,
Yeah,
I don't know. The
probably
whole void
because
year thing,
yeah,
dude,
that
people are
that would
playing
because
weird games, right? So there's something
because
to it.
because if they restructure it and move like next year's salary to a signing bonus, then that would be spread over the 4 years, and then or the following year it'd
The
be spread over
remaining,
3 years, remaining term, which would include the 5th year. So I guess that makes sense. But I mean, if you're going to do something like that, just give them an extra year on the contract at like
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Maybe it's like just a safety net of, hey, we don't want to do that, but if something happens and we find ourselves in a pinch, at least we know we've got some flexibility to hold it all together, maybe for like a Super Bowl year run where they go all in or whatever. But also with the Lions, they've extended offensive tackle Penny Sewell. He's getting a 4-year, $112 million extension. His has $85 million in guarantees, so it's weird that his total value is a little bit lower, but the guaranteed money's that much higher. Maybe something to do with kind of like the safety of offensive linemen typically are a little bit more reliable over time than wide receivers, or who knows. But either way, that's how his contract shakes out. The Lions, they're making moves. I would bet Jared Goff is up next.
Yeah, what I'm reading about Jared Goff is it's not really imminent that they're going to re-sign him. What was it? Blah blah blah. A deal with that was the quote. A deal with Goff is not imminent, according to sources.
Okay.
I haven't been able to find the information about the Sewell contract. But I will say that Penny Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown were the first two offensive players to make first team All-Pro in the same season for the Lions since 1997.
Wow. Well, you got to pay those guys, huh?
They were then they were 2 times. So it was like 2 years in a row. They both were All-Pro. So, and Sewell joined Lomas Brown as the only Lions offensive tackle to be named to the Pro Bowl in consecutive years.
Oh, jeez. How long has this team been around, James?
27. So close to 100 years. Well, it depends.
Yeah, but how long they've been doing All Pro and whatever. But it just, hey, we've been struggling for a long time. It's nice to see them doing good, right? So, yeah.
It depends if you're going to count the Portsmouth years or not as Detroit Lions, but they were as including Portsmouth, it's 1930, and just as the Lions, they moved to Detroit in 1934.
Okay. So, all right. In other news, James, right before the show, you were telling me about Trey Hendrickson, the defensive end for Cincinnati, is requesting a trade from the team. Obviously, we know T. Higgins a little while back requested a trade from the team.
Well, actually, with T. Higgins, apparently he hadn't officially requested a trade from the team.
Okay.
It was hinted that he was going to, and he officially requested a trade from Cincinnati earlier today as well. But
okay.
like Trey Hendrickson, it's kind of a weird situation with him because he just last year signed an extension. And so he can't negotiate for another extension for 12 months after signing that extension. So, and you're saying, and I've kind of read that is like, whatchamacallit, what was I gonna say? Oh, he doesn't have any more guarantees in his contract, and that's what he was griping about.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know what? You got to live with the CBA, and if it says you can't sign another extension or even negotiate for an extension for 12 months, why are you going to bitch and moan after you just signed an extension?
A deal that you signed, right? Yeah.
A deal you signed, but not only a deal you signed, but read the fucking CBA. You signed it less than 12 months ago. You can't negotiate another extension for 12 months according to the CBA.
Yeah, so the trade thing is just a pure financial thing. He's trying to,
Yeah.
you know, squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of thing, you
Right,
know.
but he wouldn't be able to even negotiate an extension with the team he was traded to until 12 months after he signed
Yeah.
the
So
extension.
it's just a stupid, futile thing to begin with. All right, so then James, did you hear about this stadium plan for Chicago? Them
I
talking
just
about possibly building a $5 billion stadium right next to Soldier Field.
Yeah, I just saw like the highlight of it. I hadn't read into it. And
You know, I still haven't been to Soldier Field. Obviously, if they're going to tear it down or whatever, at some point I'm going to have to get my ass to a game. But
but they
I,
they can't tear it down because I believe, if I remember correctly, Soldier Field is a nationally registered historical landmark.
oh, okay,
So, and plus
huh,
Soldier Field is a football field built on a war memorial. That's why it's called Soldier Field.
gotcha. Okay, so then yeah, they'll convert it into something else, and then have a brand new stadium next to it. The thing that I think just right off the bat ruffles my feathers a little bit is that they're saying the new stadium is going to be enclosed. And so, to me, like part of being the Chicago Bears is that you have one of those unique outdoor winter stadiums, right?
Mhm.
And, I don't want to see those go away. Like I kind of was hoping when way back when the Lions built Ford Field that they were going to have at least a retractable roof or something where you could get a little bit of the elements and maybe be like, yeah, we're one of those up north teams that can play in the cold, and maybe it gives you an edge or whatever against a team like Miami. But I just don't want to see another team go away from that, man.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna retract what I said about it being a national landmark because in 2024, as a result of the renovations, the Federal Advisory Committee recommended Soldier Field be delisted as a National Historic Landmark.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're gonna tweak it a little bit, get it delisted, and then put a new stadium next to it so we can tear it down.
Well, they did a little bit more than tweak it. Like they completely demolished so so they demolished the inside and rebuilt the entire interior of the stadium, leaving what is it? So they removed all the safeties as the stadium's interior was demolished and reconstructed while the exterior was preserved in an example of okay. So they preserved the exterior but demolished the interior and
Gotcha.
rebuilt the interior. That's why it took 3 years because that started in 20 or 2 years because it started in 22 and didn't reopen until 24, and that got it delisted from the his National Historic Landmark Registry. So technically, they could demolish it.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Apparently
So
they're looking to get some public funding to make the new one happen, and you know,
yes. So looking at the picture from the it looks like what they're going to do is they're going to keep part of the structure up and like part of the exterior up and put like park in there.
okay.
Just looking at it, and I'm trying to remember because it's what I want to say. So it's the second smallest stadium in the NFL,
Okay.
and
And they want to sell some more tickets.
trying to glance because I want to say that the location or the exterior is like some sort of war memorial or something. Yeah. So the
Maybe that's the
exterior,
part they're going to keep.
yeah, his name was changed to Soldier Field in dedication to U.S. soldiers who had died in combat during World War One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So apparently the seating capacity. So apparently it used to be 100,000 seat stadium, and then as part of the reconstruction, they brought it down to 65,000.
Oh wow, that's a big drop.
Anyways, a little bit too much about Soldier Field. I hadn't seen the article earlier. I just saw the article, and they're looking for. That makes no fucking sense. That math does not add up. So it says, oh, there we go. No, this math doesn't add up. So you said it was a $5 billion proposal,
Yes.
right? Listen to these numbers and tell me where you get $5 billion out of this.
Okay.
Proposal calls for $2.025 billion from the Bears, $300 million from an NFL loan, and $900 million in bonds from the Illinois Sports Facilities Authority.
So what's that? 3.3 ish.
Yeah, that's like 3.2, 3.3. Where's the other 1.7?
Go into the owner's pocket. All right. Well, either way, fuck the Bears.
Oh, okay. Now I figured it out. So the plan calls for 3.2 billion for the new stadium and an additional 1.5 billion in infrastructure. Okay, that's how they get to 5 billion. That makes more sense.
All right.
Moving on.
Yeah. Forget the Bears. Um, in other news, so Zach Wilson traded from the Jets to the Broncos. Maybe Denver's not going to be drafting a quarterback after all,
They're
and
still
they're just
drafting a
gonna
quarterback. Zach Wilson can't play the quarterback position.
well, or they're just gonna ride their fucking trio of misfits till the wheels fall off, so they can draft one high next year, and then Sean Payton will. Who the fuck knows how long he's even going to be in Denver? It's wild. But basically, it was a giveaway trade, right? I mean, he was the former number 2 overall pick. They moved him to Denver and they exchanged like 6th and 7th round picks or something, right? I mean, it was like nothing.
So I hadn't actually. Yeah. So he was traded to Denver with a 7th round pick for a 6th round pick.
Yeah, that's like a nothing trade.
So we're giving you Zach Wilson and our 7th round pick. You're giving us our 6th. So we're trading our 7th round pick for a 6th round pick because fucking Zach Wilson's not going to play for Denver.
Yeah,
He's not going to start.
yeah, yeah. It was wild. But in other quarterback news, Matt Ryan has officially retired. You know, he was sitting out there hoping for a job, didn't get one. I feel bad for him. I liked Matt Ryan for a long time as a quarterback. It just this is like one of the sucky parts of the guys that hang on too long, right?
Mhm.
Is that you don't get to go out with like all the cheers and everything like that because basically he washed up and nobody wanted him anymore, and that's the saddest worst way to go out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
But
the dude still had an amazing career, made a ton of money. He was fucking damn close to getting a Super Bowl, but he just couldn't pull it off.
yeah, so going back to Zach Wilson, I forgot to mention that, and we talked about it before the show, and I just forgot to mention it, that in the 2021 draft, there were 5 quarterbacks picked in the top 15, and now that makes only one of them that has not been traded. I told you, because it was Trevor Lawrence was number 1 overall. He hasn't lived up to all the hype, but at least he's still on the Jaguars. Then it was Zach Wilson at 2 and Trey Lance at 3. I don't even think Trey Lance started a game for the 49ers before he was traded. And then it was Justin Fields at 11 and Mac Jones at 15. Which it's kind of crazy because there was a lot of hype coming out of that draft for those quarterbacks, and which makes me concerned about the quarterbacks in this draft.
So I thought Lance did get to start some games and then he got hurt or whatever, right?
If he started a game, he started. Okay, so he apparently. Oh no, that's North Dakota State. He started.
He was 2-2 as a starter with the 49ers.
He started 2 games in 21, 2 games in 22.
Oh, see, I'm looking at StatMuse. Shows him starting 1 game in 21 and 3 games in 22. Oh, that's because one of the games for 21 was in January 2022. Okay.
I was just going by season. So then after the 22 season, he was traded to Dallas.
Yep.
And we talked about that a lot with regarding to Trey Lance, like how much San Francisco gave up to trade to number 3 to pick him, and how big of a bust that was.
Yeah, and they just had a miracle that they got frickin' Purdy, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if they didn't get Purdy, it would have been, it's hard to say because they've had success and Shanahan has been able to make it work with subpar quarterbacks. But it's like, if they didn't land Purdy, it just, in any other organization, both him and frickin' Lynch would have been fired, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and let's be honest, they completely lucked out with Purdy.
Yeah.
There's the signs were there that he could potentially be a backup in the NFL.
Yeah, but he was Mr. Irrelevant.
Be a backup in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's where the signs were. I'm not saying there were signs that he could be a starter. There was the signs where he could latch on and be a backup.
Yeah.
And
if anybody else thought he could start, they would have taken him way sooner.
Yeah.
Way
somehow
sooner.
He ends up leading them to the fucking Super Bowl. Like, that's.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I like Purdy, man. I like him. I like that team. You know, obviously I like Shanahan, but whatever it is, they just can't seem to get over the hump. All right, so other news here, just trying to wrap it up, James. Let's see. I did see that Andy Reid got some extension with the Chiefs. I don't know all the details. I just know he is now the highest paid head coach in the league. And then I did see there were a couple 5th-year options getting exercised. Denver picked up Pat Surtain II's option, and Dallas picked up Micah Parsons' option.
Parsons, Surtain, and the Bengals picked up Chase's option.
Okay, good to know.
And the Steelers sources are saying the Steelers are not going to pick up Fields' option.
Yeah.
There's also a retirement this week, or today actually. Offensive tackle James Hurst of the Saints announced his retirement.
Oh, okay.
And so now on the Saints, from their 2023 offensive line, they only have 3 starters left.
Oh, man, and we mocked him a defensive tackle.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll be going all offensive line from there.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. They only have 2 starters left.
Yeah.
Eric McCoy at center, and Cesar Ruiz at right guard. Um, there's also a chance that Ryan Ramczyk is going to miss the season.
Oh shit. What's going on with him?
Apparently, he's battling knee. According to the article I read, he's battling knee issues, leaving his training camp status and potentially his season in doubt.
Wow. Okay.
And so they had lost left tackle. I'm sorry, they had benched left tackle Trevor Penning, who's now in line for the starting job at left tackle.
Yeah. I mean, he was an early pick, right? First
He,
rounder, or maybe he was a second rounder.
yeah, I think he was a second rounder.
Let's see. Trevor Penning, blah blah blah, drafted in the first
He
round of
was
the
first round. He
22
was
draft.
19,
Yeah.
pick number
Okay.
19. So
Yeah. So they need him to pick it up.
yeah, they need him to pick it up, but they weren't planning on him. They were planning on Hurst being the starting left tackle,
Gotcha.
from what I had read.
Plans change.
Yeah, but it's really, well, at least he retired before the draft, didn't like, a day before the draft. Like he
Yeah.
could have told them like a
Next
few
week.
weeks ago. He could have told them a few weeks ago that he was planning to retire, which would have probably changed their planning for the
Yeah.
draft.
Better. Yeah, but better than waiting until next week.
This is true.
Uh, yeah, their GM is fucking ripping his hair out like, oh no, fucking burn all the plans. We gotta start over. Uh,
I'm wondering. I'm wondering if they are looking at it. Uh, I'm sorry. He played guard and tackle for them,
okay,
and he's over the 4 seasons he was there. He started 51 of the games at either guard or tackle.
gotcha.
Either way, it leaves a big fucking hole.
Oh, it for sure does. Yeah.
So if I would have known that last week, I probably would have had them picking somebody else besides a defensive tackle. But
But you live, you learn. Now we know.
yeah, that's why
And
we say
and I still think
ah.
that defensive tackle pick was right, at the time, obviously, because, you know, we ran it down that defensive tackles can slide up into the first round like that and have a, somewhat of an instant impact if they're these kind of caliber defensive tackles. So, and they're getting kind of long in the tooth, yeah, on the defense in particular. Could use some help on that line. I still think that's a good way to go. But yeah, maybe tonight we'll look at it going the other way to beef up the other trench. So what else you seeing in the news, man?
That's about it. I'm look. I've been looking for because I didn't see it until like right as we were coming on, or right before that, with the Sewell contract extension, and I wanted to see if they were if there was anything else on the terms of it.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't seeing anything because I'd be interested in seeing what the terms are and if they did huh, some other shit. Like I'm not seeing it, but we forgot to mention that he makes him the um, highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history, uh, over with the average annual value of his contract of 28 million, which beat Laramie Tunsil's 25 million.
Yeah, and he plays right tackle.
That's true. But he's under contract till 2029.
I'm fucking good with that. At some point, he may move to left tackle, right? Because
Hmm.
he has that flexibility. And Taylor Decker, at some point, maybe we say, hey, man, see you later. We're going to draft somebody cheaper.
Yeah, Taylor Decker's not that young either.
No, and I don't think he's that good. I think he's good. He's not great. He's getting a lot of money, and my opinion was we should have put Sewell at left tackle to start.
Mhm.
But apparently Decker didn't want to move, and they didn't want to hurt his feelings, and whatever it is, what it is. But um, the Lions. Hey, we talked about it before the show. With these signings, they're going to have to hit on some of these draft picks because there's only so much cap to go around. So, but let's put a pin in that. Let's talk about it more when we get to our question of the week, James.
That works for me.
Okay.
Let's get something open for when we get to go to the question week. Outside of that, that's about all I saw.
Okay.
Um, somebody else got an extension. Rashad Bateman got an extension with the Baltimore.
Gotcha.
So instead of exercising the 5th year option, they extended him 2 years.
Yeah, good for him.
Okay. All right.
All right.
We can move on to the main event.
Round 2 mock draft. Let's do it. So last time I had odd, you had even. What do you want to do? You want to flip it? You want to take odd, I'll take even? Or do you want to flip a coin again? What do you want to do?
We can flip it.
All
We
right.
just have to go, let's see, Carolina.
Yep. Carolina's up number 1. Let me get up
Oh,
my
number one.
handy coin flip app. Okay, so it's the same as last week, James. George Washington's head is heads, and the Statue of Liberty is tails. And you probably can't see it, but you will trust me. I'll let you call it in the air. If you're right, you get the first pick here. Ready? Go.
Tails.
It is tails. You get the first pick here, my man.
All right. So Carolina didn't have a first round pick. They need everything under the sun, and they probably need more than what we're thinking because
Yeah.
of like they've gotten rid of everybody. So is this the most recent? Let me make sure I have the right one up because last week I had okay. So from
Sure.
updated April 24th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So it is most updated. And we have Carolina needing wide receiver, tight end, cornerback, edge, and defensive tackle. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they really needed a first round pick. And, I guess aside from not having it, maybe could they trade into the first round to get one of the wide receivers that's available? Otherwise, man, they're in a bad spot this year.
So I'm trying to think. I think. Nope, we had him go. I know.
I think you're looking at Xavier Worthy, the fastest man in the 40 now, as being your next available wideout.
Well, no, I was just going through seeing. Yep, he's gone. So I think we ended up with only like one outside of the top 32 best available. Two, maybe.
Okay. I mean, there are a lot of wide receivers here. It's just you're starting to get the you know every one of them's got a flaw. Like Keon Coleman's one that I keep hearing a lot about, but he ran a really slow 40 time, and so Um, the guy out of Florida, Ricky Pearsall. I've been hearing stuff about him, but it just all these guys are coming with a lot of risk now, and so they for sure need a wide receiver one for Bryce Young. Uh, I don't know what they're going to do though. And there's not a tight end here, because Brock Bowers is off the board. The next best tight end's not projected to go until the end of the second round. You wouldn't want to take him here. I mean, you're pretty much just rolling the dice on one of these wide receivers, I got to think. It's just who do you want? Do you want the burner and Xavier Worthy? Do you want to go with the big guy and Kean Coleman? Or do you want to do something else like Ricky Pearsall maybe is like your happy medium of the two? I do like the scouting report on, however you say the name, Jalen Polk out of Washington. And he's got decent size, 6'1", 200 pounds. It reads well, but, he's also not projected to go until the 60th overall spot. So it's a bit early.
I'm not liking anybody here.
Yeah, and I don't think Xavier Worthy is wide receiver one potential. I mean, the dude only weighs 165 pounds, man.
No, I agree with you there. Maybe let me see.
Maybe you say, fuck it, we're going to have to go cornerback or edge or something.
Yeah, and so I went through Edge, and I'm not liking that. Looking at it, and I'm
So
not
did we?
seeing.
Let's just see what we did at cornerback. Cooper DeJean's gone. Nate Wiggins is gone. So then you're looking at
Kool-Aid or
Kool-Aid
Reconcile?
McKinstry. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I've been hearing is first round potential. So maybe you do that. I mean, you got to be careful, right? Because you don't want to. Well, I mean, here, look, Kool-Aid's an 89 overall. Your best available wide receiver is an 87. So, and we already Darius Robinson at edge. He's off. The next edge guy is what? Marshawn Nealand, the guy out of Western. He's an 86.
I
It would be going in a unique direction, but cornerback gives them the best available value, right? The best available pick, highest value pick, but it's at like one of the lower of their needs.
yeah, I know. I
I'm
think
glad you got this pick because this is, rattling your brain, man. I don't have to sweat it.
I'm gonna go with Ricky Pearsall,
Okay,
wide receiver from Florida.
I like that. He's the happy medium, as I put it, between the big guy and the burner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's apparently the only wide receiver to run a sub 6'7" 3 cone at the combine.
That's good.
Uh, he could he could at worst case you have a solid slot guy, but he's bigger than. I like the fact that he's a little bit bigger than Worthy, and he's taller.
Yeah. Yeah, Worthy's too small. I think, he's going to slide a little bit. Or there's going to be a team that says, hey, we've already got our one and maybe our two, and we're just going to bring him in for a freaking burner, and it's kind of like a luxury pick at that point. But a lot of teams are not in that position to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Xavier with Worthy, like I could see Kansas City going with him over McConkey
Okay.
a little bit.
I think we already got McConkey. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you got
But but yeah,
McConkey went to,
going
yeah,
to the Chiefs.
yeah. All right, so we're locking in Ricky Pearsall for the Carolina Panthers at wide receiver. That takes us to the number 34 pick, James, which is the New England Patriots. In round one, I had them taking the quarterback Jaden Daniels, which they so badly need. That leaves needs for them at offensive tackle, cornerback, wide receiver, and defensive tackle. Um, looking at best available, obviously, I'm tempted to try and find him an offensive lineman because you now have your franchise quarterback. You got to protect him. I will say this is a scenario where I maybe is not as stressed about it because Jaden Daniels is a mobile quarterback. And so I'm looking at the best value, best available kind of thing. And so let's see. Let's see, where'd we leave off with some of these positions? Mims is gone, Flaga's gone,
So
offensive
so
tackle.
next
So,
for offensive tackle would be Guyton.
okay, we already took out J.C. Latham. Yep. So we're looking at Guyton. Um, if I'm not going tackle, then I'm looking cornerback. Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's sitting there kind of staring me in the face. Um, let's see.
So
They
this
do have
is
a
a lot of
defensive-minded head coach now. What were you going to say?
this is like a lot of like the issue I was having with Carolina. It's like which way do you go on that?
Yeah, I think you go Kool-Aid McKinstry at cornerback. I don't want to overthink it. You have their first year head coach is a defensive minded coach. They went quarterback offense round one. He's mobile. They're not really in that kind of desperate position to get a tackle. So why don't you go back and do defense, kind of keep some harmony. I think it's like kind of keeping balance and also giving them the best player available for one of their top needs. So I'm good with that, man. Kool-Aid McKinstry for the Pats.
All right. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals, who need a wide receiver, who we got in the first round with Harrison Jr., cornerback, edge, running back, interior offensive line. So interior offensive line, you're looking, it's probably too early for, wait a minute. Where did we leave off at guard? Did we draft any guards in the first round?
I don't think we did, but I'm taking a look right now. I know we talked about a couple of them, but it seemed a little early. Oh, nope, Graham Barton.
That's
Well,
center.
he's a center. Yeah, he's a center.
But we didn't, because Graham Barton's a no-brainer first round pick, in my
Oh,
opinion.
so Troy Fontenot, he's listed as a guard in one spot, but is he also listed as a tackle? I don't know why I thought of him. Yeah, he's also listed
No,
as a tackle.
no, you're
And
thinking
yeah,
of
he's long gone.
Fashanu.
And there's Fontenot. And
Yeah,
Fontenot is listed as both a guard and a tackle.
but I'm not seeing. We didn't pick. Oh, we did. There he is. Okay.
Yeah, we did pick him.
So then we're looking at. Okay, so I was right. I was looking for him, but I was looking for guard, and it listed him as tackle, on for some fucked up reason. Probably because he's one of those. Because you had talked about it. There's a lot of tackles that can play both positions in this draft. So then so at guard and interior offensive line, both center and guard, it's way too early to pick one of those guys.
And Arizona has a mobile quarterback, so once again, it's maybe not like an emergency kind of thing that you got to get them. But,
Yeah, so looking at edge with Neeland, you know what? I'm gonna do something crazy here.
do it.
I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna go with wide receiver Xavier Worthy.
Okay. Give them the burner. Double down. I like it. They're desperate for wide receivers, man. They've gotten rid of all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a bad choice. It's not a bad choice. You got your wide receiver one earlier on. Now you got your burner. It's not horrible. You got a lot invested in freaking Kyler. You got to give him some weapons. So that takes us to 36 with the Washington Commanders. And so earlier in round one, we had them taking Drake May. That leaves team needs as offensive tackle, edge, cornerback, and wide receiver. This is one where I don't want to hesitate. You were saying Tyler Guyton is still out there. They got to beef up that offensive line. And you've got a quarterback now. Keep him as protected as you can and focus on what you're doing on that side of the ball. So offensive tackle Tyler Guyton.
All right, which brings us to the Chargers, who needs were interior offensive line, offensive tackle, running back, wide receiver, cornerback. I just read them in a weird fucking order. Um, I was hoping you weren't going with Guyton here because that's who I was going to take
Okay.
with the Chargers. We gave them a wide receiver in the first round. Um, Next offensive tackle up on the board would be Jordan Morgan, who I think it's. So let me see something. I thought, and I got to check something real quick on this because I think the tackle. I, I want to check the depth chart. Is it left or right tackle? Uh,
Yeah, sometimes it almost doesn't matter. You take them and you shuffle them around to make it work, right? You put your best five on the field.
yeah, I'm just gonna go with the same position I was gonna pick, anyways for them, and so but that's where it matter. It matters because I'm just gonna go with Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle from Arizona.
Okay. Plug a hole. Plug a hole. So now we're off to 38 with the Tennessee Titans. We had them taking offensive tackle Joe Alt in the first round. That leaves team needs as edge, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and linebacker. Um, the guy that's just staring me in the face is Marshawn Nealand at edge, but I don't want to. I don't want to just like pick it right away, right? Because let's see, you got Fisk is out there at defensive tackle. We didn't have him picked yet. So you could do either where are they going to get more bang for the buck, defensive tackle or edge. They could get a wide receiver to go with DeAndre Hopkins, right? That way Levis has another weapon. Treylon Burks hasn't necessarily been lighting the world on fire. Um, man, I just got to think about it for a second here. I do kind of like Fisk here, but let's see. Fisk is an 86. Nealon's an 86. If they went wide receiver, it would probably be a guy like Keon Coleman, slower but a big guy. No, I think they got to go defense. I'm gonna give them the edge guy, Marshawn Nealand,
So
which
yeah, I
takes
think
us
it's
to
kind of
39 Carolina, bud.
Carolina again, which is giving me. I was going. If you hadn't picked Nealon, I was going to go Nealon here, but they also, like we had said, we gave them a wide receiver. They need tight end, cornerback, edge, defensive tackle. I think here, at defensive tackle, it's too early to pick Fisk.
Okay.
I just I know defensive tackles go up the board, but I don't
And
like
they've got
how.
Derek Brown, so they're not like desperate,
Yeah,
right?
they're not desperate. Edge on this. I was 100% thinking Marshawn Nealon. I don't think I think Braswell is it's way too early for him. He's a third round guy, late second round, early third round guy. Um, where I'm going to go with it, it fits the um, need of cornerback, and it's actually a little bit of a value because based on overall rating, uh, it's Enos Rackes, the fuck's
Rakestraw.
that? Rackesstraw. So I wanted to pause for a second because when I looked back at the screen, it said there was like dot 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 after Rackesstraw, so I was like, oh shit, what is his full last name?
Yeah, so hey, they're pretty tricky, man. They're pretty tricky. Okay, so then that takes us to the Washington Commanders, and so these guys been busy. They got Drake May in the first round. We just had them getting Tyler Guyton early in the second round. They're already up again. They've got needs now at edge, cornerback, and wide receiver. You just basically sniped them on a cornerback. That was a sneaky move, but I like it. Um, let's see. So edge and wide receiver is where we're looking. And if we're not getting either of them, we're just going best available. So there's not really, okay, cornerback. So you just took Rakestraw. You go down to the next guy. Oh, Kamari Lassiter. It's a little bit of a drop. 45th overall guy, but we're at 40. Oh, man. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. What would I do with these guys? I mean, they're kind of so they're saying wide receivers in need, but they've got their top two wide receiver spots filled. So I'm not like anxious to get them a wide receiver there. Um, I'd be tempted to look at Jonathan Brooks, the running back out of Texas, but they brought in Eckler, and they still have what's his name, Brian Robinson. Um, Man, maybe that next cornerback up is like really the way to go for these guys, man. It seems like a little bit of a dip, but you're only talking about five spots on the board, and none of the other ones make really any sense at all. If they went in a different direction and they went after best available, you could go Edgar and Cooper at linebacker, but he's an 86 compared to Lassiter's 85. I got to go Lassiter, man. It makes too much sense.
One second, that doesn't change my pick.
It's fine. And we're
But
starting to run a cornerbacks.
actually, I'm with Green Bay. I'm not going cornerback, even though that's listed as a need. I didn't like the cornerbacks here. We gave them an offensive tackle, which was a need in the first round. They need a safety, a linebacker, and a defensive tackle. Like I said, I don't like Fisk here. I didn't like Fisk with Carolina. I don't like him here. So I'm going to go with. Let me double check something on this. But I want. Okay. I'm going to go with a weapon because they're working on shoring up the protection. They got the offensive tackle. Do they need a second offensive tackle? I think I'm going to go with a weapon for Jordan Love.
Okay.
And I think I hate it. Um, okay, so this guy he ran a 4.61 40 second 40 at the combine, which seems a little slow for a wide receiver. But his 10-yard split, his first 10-yard split at the combine was 1.54, which was
Okay.
quicker than some of the other receivers that ran 4.4s at the combine. And he has burst and he can accelerate off the line and after the catch. He's a little bit on the bigger side. He comes on with contested catches. He scored the most touchdowns in the ACC this past season, and that's going to be Keon Coleman, wide receiver from Florida State.
Do
And
it to
I
it.
know, I know you're saying, well, they have Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, and Jaden Reed. They need wide receivers last year. Going into last year, we were talking about how they didn't have a wide receiver. 2 years ago, this is the same wide receiver core. They didn't have wide receivers. Dobbs kind of took a step forward, but I'm questioning whether Jaden Reed can play that slot for them. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go with Keon Coleman.
Do it to it, man. Do it to it. All right. Next up, we got the Houston Texans at pick 42, and so they did not have a first round draft pick. Um, why didn't they? I don't even remember why they didn't have a first round draft pick.
They traded their first round draft pick to the Cardinals.
Oh, was that part of
In
them getting all those picks last year, the high picks,
Yeah,
Stroud
it
and
was
Will Anderson?
part of the um, trade last year, I believe.
Okay.
While you talk about it, I will get you the specifics of it.
Okay. Yeah, you look it up. And so, yeah, their needs are going to be cornerback, tight end, linebacker, interior offensive line, and defensive tackle. Tight end, I'm going to discount it a little bit because they do still have Dalton Schultz. Cornerback, you're looking at guys like TJ Tampa out of Iowa State with an 84 grade. You're looking at, man, you'd be dropping a little bit after him. Linebacker is one I'm very tempted with, James, and I'm a little bit torn between Edgar and Cooper and Junior Colson. Colson's kind of like more polished already there, having led U of M in tackles the last 2 years. But Cooper seems to have just a slightly higher ceiling. And with, D'Amico Ryans as their head coach, maybe that's attractive to him. He can bring him in and kind of mold him to be who he wants. But I also see them as a team that's already in win now mode. And so, man, I got to go linebacker Junior Colson out of University of Michigan.
All right, so Junior Colson, spell that please.
Colson.
Okay. So Houston last year traded the first third round pick last year. I'm sorry. First and second round. What the fuck? Houston traded first and third round selections in 24 and the 2020 and 2023 first and second round selections to Arizona. Okay, so they had two picks in the first round. To Arizona for the 2023 first round pick and a 2023 fourth round pick.
Okay.
So that's why they don't have a first round pick. So then we go to Atlanta, who their needs are edge, cornerback, defensive tackle, safety, and list quarterback, but I don't know why the fuck they still list quarterback as a need for Atlanta on this fucking thing. When
there must just be like looking way into the future of we're gonna need one, or we at least need a backup, or who the fuck knows.
right, but then they say signing Kirk Cousins will improve Atlanta. Okay, here it is. Okay, signing Kirk Cousins will improve Atlanta's quarterback play, assuming he's healthy after the Achilles injury. But the team could benefit from snagging a promising young backup in this draft after shipping Desmond Ridder to Arizona. Okay, so they're looking for a backup.
Yeah,
that's going to be later in the draft. We gave him an edge guy in the first round, so we're looking at. I still don't like Fisk here at defensive tackle. I don't like any
he's
of this.
Maybe feeling a little bit of a slide is what's happening, man.
I don't like any of the safeties this early. Like, I mean, you're talking another 15 picks before any of these safeties should go.
Okay.
Cornerback. Let's see. That puts us at. Let me see.
TJ Tampa.
TJ Tampa. It's a little early for him.
TJ Tampa, he's 46 overall, and we're at 43. It's not horrible, right?
Just a little early for him.
But we've not had a ton of guys sliding.
Yeah. Then.
And keep in mind, they don't need him to be a CB1. They need him to be a 2 because they got AJ Terrell already. And so maybe that makes it a little bit easier to take a guy here. There's less pressure because, he's not coming in to be the man. He's coming in to be the man next to the man.
Right. I hear what you're saying there.
I'm just helping you walk through it, my man.
I absolutely hear what you're saying there, and I'm understanding that. So they kind of need a wide receiver too, but it's too early for that guy. I don't like drafting a guy that's going to be a depth play.
Well, you get two cornerbacks on the field all the time.
Okay. So I was thinking, I was thinking Jesse Bates, but I forgot Jesse Bates is a safety. So I was like, okay, so you're looking at a backup to one of those guys for cornerback. But obviously Jesse Bates is a safety, and I'm an idiot. So
you just had a lapse for a second there, James.
So then we're looking at TJ Tampa. But it's only an 84.
Yeah, and I think you're right here where Fisk could probably slide a little bit because you do have some depth at defensive tackle here. You go down some spots, you're only losing 2 on the overall grade, and you got a couple guys staring you in the face.
I think the only place for them to go here is at cornerback.
It could be one of those things.
Like, I think that's the only place for them to go, so I'm going to go with TJ Tampa.
Okay, TJ Tampa to the Atlanta Falcons, which takes us to the Las Vegas Raiders at 44. And this is probably the best case scenario for the Raiders because we had them taking cornerback Terrion Arnold in the first round because the value wasn't there for a quarterback, which means now in the second round, Michael Penix Jr. falls into their lap and they can add him to the mix. You now got a 3-dog race at quarterback where, you know, all these guys maybe don't get there, but they're going to have a lot of freaking fire underneath of them for one of them to try and get to be the front dog. So I'm taking Michael Penix Jr. here for the Raiders, man.
All right, then we have the Saints. And the Saints are now, as we talked about, they're now in a little bit of a quandary. And the way the board is lining up for them. So their needs were offensive tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, defensive tackle, linebacker. We gave them the defensive tackle in the first round. Right? We gave him Turner, right? Or no, we gave him
Yeah,
Murphy.
we gave him a defensive tackle. We gave him
Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy. Yep.
I was thinking but Turner's edge, but it was like right around there with them. Like we. Dallas Turner, Byron Murphy, same fucking name, whatever. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
close.
I'm gonna add while they need an offensive tackle, they also need an offensive guard. There's no value where we are with all the offensive tackles that have gone. When you go to guard, like you're looking at overall rating of a 70 and a grade of a 79. That's next available for that. Offensive tackle where we're at. Ooh, wait a minute. We're at Blake Fisher, which is an 82 overall. That's a little bit better. It fits a need, but like I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but that's the only way they can go here based on best available and need. Like
Who were you saying? Sorry, I missed that.
hold on, let me take a second look at where we are.
Sure.
On best available. Or Excel's gone. Keon Coleman's gone. Just Vespa already gave him defensive tackle. Jordan Morgan's gone. Linebacker, you took Junior Colson.
Yes, and we had a guy go in the first round too to the Chiefs. Peyton Wilson.
Huh. It's interesting. That's very interesting. Did I say linebacker was a team need? I did.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You got a guy staring you in the face at linebacker, man.
Yeah, I know. And like I just assumed he was
Well,
gone.
most teams discount linebackers now, right? So, well, remember I skipped a guy. I went for I went for the U of M guy over the maybe higher ceiling guy.
I was gonna go one way with this until I saw that this guy was still available. And correct me if I'm wrong, Adrian Cooper is still available here.
Yes.
He's possibly the best linebacker in the draft.
Well, in this draft, he got jumped over twice. Pick your poison.
He got jumped over twice by somebody that doesn't watch college football.
Oh, burn on me. But you know what? Come draft night, I'll have the last laugh.
So it's going to be linebacker Adrian Cooper.
I like that pick. I like that pick. And I like his scouting report. It does say he's got basically, uncapped potential. And so teams could fall in love with that and feel like they can mold him to be something that they need him to be. So um, that takes us to 46 with the Indianapolis Colts. We had them taking tight end Brock Bowers in the first round. That leaves needs for them at cornerback, wide receiver, running back, interior offensive lineman, and safety. I'm going to drop down running back because even if Jonathan Taylor's fizzling out, which I don't think he is, you've got a mobile quarterback, and so I'm not as worried about backing him up with a second round pick, even though the running back out of Texas is staring me in the face. Also, same reason, I don't feel a lot of pressure to go interior offensive lineman here. So I'm trying to look at cornerback, wide receiver, or safety. I'm not really thrilled, to be honest, with the wide receivers available, and I'm not really thrilled with the safeties available. Um, and really, even with cornerback, I think it's kind of getting a little bit dicey. So what I'm looking at is it's a little bit of a stretch at this point, and I think it could be, maybe a little bit of a surprise, but I think it makes sense for the team, which is going after wide receiver Jalen Polk out of Washington, 6'1", 200 pounds, good at getting the 50-50 balls. You put him next to Michael Pittman Jr., you got a good possession receiver. You've got a receiving tight end. I think that that's setting up Anthony Richardson about as good as you can get him for this situation, him coming into year two. So that's my pick here. Jolyn Polk out of Washington.
And with that pick, the New York Giants are running up running back Jonathan Brooks to the
Yeah, to pair him with Devin Singletary. Yeah.
to take over for Devin Singletary.
Well, they just brought in Singletary, but yeah, Brooks would beat him out probably, right? So, yeah, no, I like that, and I like that for the Giants. It's kind of one of these ones where it just falls into their lap, where they have a big need, and how do you pass on the guy here? He's the best running back in the draft. You're getting him kind of like in the middle of the second round. That's a pretty good deal, man. And it's a second round pick, so it's not like people are not going to be like comparing it to Saquon Barkley, right? Because sometimes when you replace a guy with somebody of the same position, the fan base is like, "Oh my God, you could have just paid Saquon, right?" But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, because you're fucking paying this guy nothing compared to what you would have to pay to keep Saquon. And Saquon had like one fucking good year on his rookie contract, so fuck him. All right. I like that pick, James. Which takes us to number 48 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they have, let's see, who did they take in the first round? We had them taking an offensive tackle. God, they desperately need help on that line. They now have needs at cornerback, defensive tackle, interior offensive lineman, and edge. Um, fuck. Fisk is still there. How do I not take Fisk because he's sliding? It's got to be him, dude. It's got to be him. And so, shit, I'm on page 3 of the overall list. I got to go back to page 2. Yeah, Braden Fisk, Florida State.
So then we're with Cincinnati, who is going to wanted to take Braden Fisk.
There's some options at defensive tackle.
I know.
Who's going to be the best run stopper if they want to replace Reeder, man? Chris Jenkins comes from Pro Blood, the son of the Chris Jenkins.
I know that's where I was going. I had penciled in Braden Fisk, not thinking you were gonna take him there, but since Fisk is on, Cincinnati is taking Jenkins. We gave him a wide receiver in the first round. Because I'm anticipating that they're going to trade T. Higgins on draft night. Second, and with the wide receiver that we gave them, which was Brian Thomas, I think that's a good fit for them. The remaining needs are offensive tackle. I don't like any of the value here. Cornerback, tight end. I don't like any of the value of any of the other positional needs. So it's gonna be defensive tackle Chris Jenkins from the fucking University of Michigan.
Yeah, I think that's a steal here, to be honest. You got a guy coming from the pro lineage. Typically those guys come draft night, they're going to float a little bit higher on the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like that, which takes us next to the 50 pick with the Philadelphia Eagles. We had them taking a center in the first round, leaves needs at cornerback, offensive tackle, wide receiver, and safety. I'm not sure that really offensive tackle or wide receiver are that big of needs. For that matter, I'm not even sure that cornerback is really that big of a need for these guys, which means we could be looking at safety here. And that would be wild. It's either going to be, in my opinion, safety or best available. And I'm just taking a look to see if there's anybody else sliding that we missed at this point. I think it's filling in pretty quick here, actually. You're talking defensive tackle Mason Smith. I really don't think they're going in that direction because they doubled up defensive tackles the last 2 years. Oh my God, it's a match made in heaven. I don't even like that I'm even seeing this, but it's one of the next best available, James. It's a Georgia guy, Javon Bullard. It's safety. Philly just goes after these freaking Georgia players like it's nobody's business on defense. And I dismiss their other needs. This is a higher need than those other spots. I'll take him here. A second round safety, stack that secondary. Javon Bullard, man.
And you have Pittsburgh Steelers. We gave them a wide receiver in the first round. I believe I gave them the wide receiver in the first round. Their needs are offensive tackle, interior offensive line, cornerback, defensive tackle. I can't believe I think this is like the third or fourth pick in a row where I'm going to do defensive tackle Mason Smith.
It's the run coming, dude. It's the run coming. It's all right. This is a good spot because remember in past drafts, once you get past like sort of this point, there's like nobody available at defensive tackle. At least nobody with a scouting report worth a damn. And so I could see them doing that. And I want to say Pittsburgh drafted a defensive tackle last year in one of the mid rounds, but in any case, they're getting long in the tooth on that defense, and so they need to replenish. Which takes us to the Los Angeles Rams, and let's see, for the Rams, they did not have. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. They did have. This was their first round pick since the Jared Goff pick many moons ago, and we had them taking a defensive tackle, which leaves needs as. Where the hell are they at? Needs at. Come on. Where are you at? Oh boy. Bear with me. My page is not reloading very
So the Rams' needs were defensive tackle, edge, cornerback, offensive tackle, and kicker.
Thank you. So the first kicker on my list, no, we're not going there, James. Although Jason Hanson, I just saw an article about him. He was a second round pick. That one kind of worked out, right? But still second round pick, hard to do it. All right, so We went defensive tackle, so edge, cornerback, offensive tackle. And uh, you got Max Melton at cornerback. I'm not really thrilled with that pick here. You got Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame. I do like the Notre Dame guys at tackle. That's not horrible. Chris Braswell at edge. I think you got to take the tackle out of Notre Dame, Blake Fisher. You've got an aging Matt Stafford. You got to protect him. It's just the prudent thing to do for these guys.
It absolutely is the prudent thing to do, and if you didn't do that, that was going to be my pick for the Eagles.
Okay.
I think really they should have flipped them and gone with the offensive tackle at 50 with instead of the safety, and then come back and got the safety at 53.
Oh, gotcha.
Based on team needs that would have made make more sense for them. Because I believe the safety will still be there at 53.
So yeah, you think they would have taken Fisher earlier and then gotten Bullard here?
Yeah.
Okay. No, it's good to point that out, man. It's good to point that out.
So then you're looking at interior offensive line. It was more specifically a center. We gave them the center in the first round for the Eagles. You gave them the safety a couple picks ago. So you're looking at cornerback, offensive tackle, wide receiver. So where you're at with the offensive tackles is going to be you took Blake Fisher. It's going to be
Rosengarten,
who is an 80. It's a little bit too low of a grade to be taking here.
Big guy at 6'5", but yeah.
For offensive, yeah. So then we're looking at corner, wide receiver. I don't know why they say they need a corner back.
Yeah, they just want a third guy to put in the mix, maybe. So you're probably looking at a slot cornerback. Melton has lined up inside and outside. He's got the versatility.
It's right about where his ranking is. The next corner, but you're looking at an 82. So put a pin in the cornerback. Remind me about Melton in a minute.
Sure. I do like Jalen McMillan at wide receiver here too.
But they don't need a fucking wide receiver.
No, I know, but they're based on these needs. Basically, they're saying they're putting strength on top of strength because this team is just that fucking stacked, right? And so. But I hear what you're saying. We got a pin in Melton. Who else do you like here? They brought in fucking Barkley, so you don't need Blake Corum.
I just wanted to see,
best available, you could add a linebacker any day of the week, right? You got Cedric Gray. You could bring him in and say, hey, we're taking the best guy because these other needs aren't really big needs anyhow. You could bring in Jackson Powers Johnson at center and just be like, we're just stacking it because we've always had such a great offensive line. We don't want to risk it. I think Philly's one of those teams where you can literally go in any direction.
Let me see something.
Jatavion Sanders, backup Dallas Goedert at tight end.
Sorry, this one's stumping me a little bit again.
That's all right. Take your time, man. Take your time. I think you're going best available if you're Cleveland, man. They just they're not a
Cleve.
team that has like a
I'm on
gaping need.
Philadelphia.
I mean, I'm sorry. I was peeking ahead to Cleveland while I was waiting for you. Uh, Phillies, they're stacked pretty much all around, man.
So I'm gonna go with Max Melton here.
Okay, so we put the pin in them, and you're taking them.
Yeah, I wanted to see if I could find something that made more sense to me, and I couldn't.
Sure. All right, so that takes us to pick number 54. We've got the Cleveland Browns, and they didn't have a first round pick because part of the Watson trade. So they're showing needs as offensive tackle, linebacker, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and tight end. Um, man, um, I'd be tempted to go a linebacker, but I really don't think it's that big of a need. They brought in Jordan Hicks, and their guy stayed fairly healthy last year and actually had a pretty good year overall. Um, so maybe tackle, but even then, the only reason tackle was a need was because of injury last year. So you could look at depth there. Defensive tackle. Oh, defensive tackle is one that's maybe a little bit interesting for me here. So James, I think, hang on, I might be skipping a guy at defensive tackle. Let me just go back and check real quick. We got Chris Jenkins. We got Mason Smith. Okay. I like this pick here, actually. I like it a lot because they've got Jim Schwartz as defensive coordinator. I like Tavondre Sweat. I'm sorry. I clicked on the wrong guy. I like Tavondre Sweat here at defensive tackle. Massive man, 6'5", 366 pounds. You're talking interior run stopper. Plug in the frickin' middle. You still got, oh man, I mean that this was one of the best defenses by far last year. You add a guy like this in the mix, I think it just it takes him to a different level. I like this pick here.
So then we're with Miami. Let's just talk this up because the list says offensive line, interior offensive line, offensive tackle, edge, tight end. I was considering Tavondre Sweat to Miami for defensive tackle. You kind of sniped that.
What I do?
Interior, we gave him the offensive tackle in the first round. For interior offensive line, I'm trying to think.
Powers Johnson, man.
Right, but didn't they just draft Eichenberg last year?
No,
2
no,
years ago.
he was a few years ago, and he's not
Two
really
years
like
ago.
panned
3
out
years
like
ago.
they were hoping.
And then their current starter at center is Aaron Brewer. They also need guards.
Yeah. So, yeah, because they had what Connor Williams or whoever playing center last year, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Um, so Jackson Powers is a good pick, but then also, I think when I was looking at these center prospects, a couple of them had versatility to play guard as well. Let's see.
Right. And so then you're going to
Yeah,
Zach
Zach
Frazier. Zach
Frazier,
Frazier could play both.
heavyweight wrestling champion, played center and guard. You know, a pick like that gives you some value. But yeah, I mean, I'm just helping you walk through it.
Right. But at 55, like
I know, but the board starts getting messy here, right? Because now we're saying these grades on guys outside of the first round can vary quite a bit.
yeah, and as a true guard, you're looking at like I'm talking about the overall grade. It's 55. You're picking if you pick Frazier, you're picking barely somebody that barely has an 80. I think you go with Jackson Powers Johnson
Johnson?
here.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that pick.
the thing I like about him is he's a true run blocker, and Miami's offense starts with the running game.
Yeah,
Um,
Mostert ran the ball shit ton last year. Yep.
and actually, I missed this in his profile. He also has experience playing both guard spots in
Nice.
addition to center.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna
what I
say
was looking for in his
I thought a
profile. I
few of
thought,
those centers. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
I thought he did. So I like this pick even better here with Jordan Powers Johnson. I'm sorry, Jackson Powers Johnson. I wrote Jordan in the spreadsheet here.
Totally fine. Totally fine. All right, so that takes us to 28 with the Dallas Cowboys, and we had them taking Cooper DeJean in the first round, which leaves them with needs at offensive tackle, running back, interior offensive lineman, defensive tackle, and wide receiver. Wide receiver definitely towards the bottom of the list. Man, at this point in the draft, I'm just trying to go to our overall here because I'm not sure they're gonna you know, have the stars align for these guys. Man, tackle, running back, interior offensive lineman, defensive tackle. You just took Powers Johnson. Blake Fisher's gone. You got Trey Benson at running back. I don't know. I mean, they're talking about bringing Zeke back. Second round's not a bad spot to get a running back, and obviously Tony Pollard's gone, so they need a guy, right? They didn't bring anybody in free agency, did they?
They did. Who did they bring
I
in?
better look at it.
They did. It's. I thought
Well,
they did.
they got Rico Dowdell.
I think they brought in Royce Freeman.
Yeah, he's not
I
anything
thought
to
I,
write home
I thought
about.
no, he's not. I agree with you. I thought there was somebody else. So until I looked at the depth chart, I was like, wait a minute, I must be confusing them with another team.
Would they go Rosengarten because their offensive line is starting to fade? He's the best available basically at their top need. Man, they're going to have to go tackle or guard basically or center. Rosengarten's giving him the best value. I'm plugging him in. Offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten. This is where some of these picks now I'm just not thrilled about. But how do you pass on the value unless there's like a guy that falls? It starts to get tough to fall in love with some of these picks, man.
All right. So then we have Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay in the first round, we gave them. Who did we give them?
Edge Jared Verse.
Edge Jared Verse. Their needs: edge, interior offensive line, cornerback, safety, linebacker. Based on their needs and the best value here, their pick is going to be Cedric Gray, linebacker from North Carolina.
I was just about to take him for the Packers. Oh, okay, that's fine. That's how this game works. I sniped you a couple times. Now you're sniping me. Yeah. So the Packers are up next at pick number 58, and We had them take an offensive tackle in round one. You took a wide receiver here early in round two, which leaves needs at defensive tackle, linebacker, offensive tackle, cornerback, and safety. Oh, I thought they were going to get lucky and get Cedric Gray there, but I'm glad they don't because obviously I hate the fucking Packers. You got safety Tyler Nubin here if you wanted to go top guy available. Cole Bishop also. Both those, you got an 82 and an 83 grade, not horrible. Offensive tackle is going to be a stretch at this spot. I was going to say they did lose Aaron Jones, but they brought in what's his face out of Vegas, so they're not hurting at running back. You got Jaden. See, now you got to pile up at safeties here. Now you got Jaden Hicks, an 81. Defensive tackle, you got Michael Hall Jr. Explosive on tape. Low center of gravity. Anchors one-on-one. Man, that could be a pick. He's a little bit light at 290, but that's not the end of the world. I would rather have them fill the trenches first than go after a cornerback. And so we're going to do that, James. We're going to plug in the Ohio State defensive tackle, Michael Hall Jr.
All right, so then we come to Houston, who just 15 picks ago gave them linebacker Junior Colson.
Fucking right I did.
So on their needs, it was cornerback, tight end, linebacker, interior offensive line, defensive tackle. I considered Hall here for them until you just fucking picked them.
Snipe by snipe.
But there's a decent, close to 259 interior offensive lineman that could play either center or guard for them, and that would be Zach Frazier from West Virginia.
I like that pick. I like it a lot. That takes us to 60 with the Buffalo Bills. We had them taking a wide receiver in round one, so now they have needs at edge, defensive tackle, safety, and running back. Who are we kidding? James Cook is their running back, and then Josh Allen is their other running back, so they don't need another running back, which leaves edge, defensive tackle, safety. Sean McDermott loves his fucking secondary. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going top available safety, Tyler Nubin.
Which drives who the Lions pick here, in a way, because you gave them edge Chop Robinson in the first round.
Yes, I did.
On their
welcome.
needs,
You're welcome, James.
Cornerback, edge, safety, offensive tackle, wide receiver. So at cornerback, that would be, let's see, they're looking at Mike Sainristil, who would be a terrible fucking pick as a 77 here.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Then you go to safety, which is a huge value pick here at pick 61. You're getting 9 picks value by picking safety Tyler Nubin.
No, I just took him.
No, I'm sorry. No.
I took Nubin to Buffalo.
I'm sorry.
Cole Bishop?
I clicked the wrong one. I meant Cole Bishop. As I was reading it, It was 52, 53, 50, 52, 54. It's still a value pick. I had
Yeah.
penciled in Tyler Newman, but I was changing it to Cole Bishop, safety from Utah.
No, I like that pick for the Lions. He's good at stopping the run. He can get to the quarterback if he blitzes. That's kind of like the gritty kind of guy that you want if you're the Lions, right? So I think that's a solid pick for them. Which takes us to 62 with the Baltimore Ravens. And so we had the Ravens take Darius Robinson in the first round, which leaves needs at interior offensive line, offensive tackle, wide receiver, and safety. We're starting to get a little bit of a run on safeties here, but um, they could go Jaden Hicks. Would that let it continue? He's an 81 overall. That's not horrible. He can go up over or in the slot. Um, let's see. They brought in Derrick Henry, didn't they? Because otherwise, I was going to say, running back is staring me in the face here, but um, maybe it could be. Maybe it still could be. Maybe Derrick Henry's in a committee now because he's getting old. They should probably do a little something on that offensive line. Who do we got on the offensive line? You took Zach Frazier. So you got Christian Haynes as your next man up, or Kingsley Sumatea, however you say his name. Kingsley's got a good. Okay, Sumatea I don't like. Tape is inconsistent. I don't think that that's going to fly with Baltimore. Um, Kingsley, I mean, let me let me go back to this. Hang on a second here. Christian Haynes, 4-year starter, relentless, tough, gets under defenders' skin. That's their top need, interior offensive line, too. And you just mentioned they just extended a wide receiver. I don't know that they got to go safety here. I think the pick is going to be this guard Christian Haynes out of UConn.
All right. San Francisco. You know how we always talk, last week we talked about this, how it lists San Francisco as a need at wide receiver on there.
Yes.
I've been seeing a lot of smoke, and when there's smoke, there's generally fire about a draft day trade of Brandon Ayuk.
It'd be nuts, but it could happen, man.
If you think about it, Ayuk is always in Shanahan's doghouse. Always. Always, 100%. You took Jalen Polk from Washington a few picks ago. I don't remember how many. I think this is where his teammate, Jalen McMillan, goes.
Okay. All right. San Francisco gets a wide receiver. So they got a linebacker first round. Now they're coming back going offense. I could see that. Which takes us to the last pick of the second round, the 64 spot, Kansas City Chiefs. James, you had them taking a wide receiver, Lad McConkey, in the first round.
Sure did.
Yes, you did. That leaves needs at offensive tackle, cornerback, running back, and interior offensive line. Um, man, I I'm just going to be honest here. They have not had the running back Well, no, because they got Pacheco. So why is running back a need on here?
I don't fucking know.
I was thinking Clyde Edwards-Helaire didn't do it obviously, but no, they nailed Pacheco. He's fine. So they're just looking at running back depth, which I don't think they need to get here, which means offensive line is the higher priority. They were
So
leaky.
if you look at his explanation for it, it says a running back to spell Pacheco.
I gotcha. Okay. And I'm not opposed to that. And in fact, I mean, honestly, you could still take a running back here because I think a guy like Blake Corum would spell him well. You'd have kind of like power on power, right?
Hmm.
It's and you're not changing much with the offense. But they were a little leaky at right tackle. I don't think Jawan Taylor was quite what they wanted. Um, man, this one is not sitting right with me.
The reason it's not sitting right with you is because there's an obvious pick here.
I'll help her brother out, man.
Um, Hold on, wait a minute.
Am I missing it on the overall or am I missing it on a positional ranking?
I think you're. Hold on a second. I got to double check something. I just got to double check something before.
Because the last tackle we
Yes.
read was inconsistent. Maybe, well, I mean, they did lose Sneed, so cornerback, but you're not going to get a starter at cornerback. And so
You could also say that they would need a safety.
okay. And so was there a guy sticking out to you?
Um, so it's a little bit of a value pick. It's about a five pick value here, which is the
Jaden Hicks.
last Jaden Hicks, which would probably be the last safety to go in the first probably 4 rounds.
81 overall. He can go up over the slot and high. I do like that. I think you're taking basically best available compared to like a lot of these other positions that they call needs, right? And so it's just a matter of who are you skipping over. Chris Braswell at edge. What was their deal that they gave to Chris Jones? Do you remember how many years?
Like 7,000.
I know, and he's so old already.
Give me a minute. I can tell you. I can actually give you a better answer than 7,000. But it was.
And I mean, they're real close. Hicks is 2 spots below Braswell. So,
Chris Jones is signed through 2028. So you're looking, if you draft the guy here for interior defensive line, you're
well, no,
looking
this guy
at
would be edge. All right. So it's
for edge.
it's not. They
If you
could
draft
both
the
be
guy,
on the field at the same time.
okay, that makes a little bit of a difference, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference because, yeah, yeah. But they could use an upgrade at defensive tackle too. Um, I really like the description of this safety of Jaden Hicks.
Well,
Like,
it's not your pick.
I know. Okay, he can line
No,
up
no,
with.
I like it, and I'm going to
He's
defer to that. We're
effective
going to do
matching
safety
up with
Jaden Hicks
backs
here.
and tight ends and dropping into underneath zone when he lines up at linebacker depth.
No,
We think
honestly,
he run defender.
I was leaning towards Blake Corum as the tandem to go with Isaiah Pacheco, but I think that it's redundant, right?
Hmm.
Hicks is going to be more value for them as a team now, I think. And so
Yeah,
let's pencil that in, Jaden
and
Hicks.
because currently their safeties are Justin Reed and Brian Cook.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like Reed. He's been good for them, but yeah, let's give him a running mate. We're good. Jaden Hicks, 64. That locks it up. That's our second round, James. All right, my man. Let's go to our question of the week unless you got anything left on that.
I don't think I have anything left on that.
Okay.
Uh,
So the Lions extended St. Brown, they extended Sewell. A lot of money. I think more money for St. Brown than anybody was expecting. Based on what you're saying about Sewell, it sounds like more money than maybe anybody at his position's ever gotten. And so we've got
at
two,
average annual value.
yeah, and you're talking for guys that make that at left tackle when he plays right tackle.
Yeah.
Typically right tackle is significantly lower in pay than left tackle, and so it just goes to show you that we're breaking the bank for some guys that are cornerstones for the team. Do you like these extensions, uh, or do you have some concerns? What are they? I think when I look at it, it's we've got Goff coming up to extend. I know that we've got a little bit of time before Hutchinson, but it just seems like any cap space that we had is now gone. And we didn't like go and break the bank in free agency, right? And so we're cashing in some homegrown talent, which is always the best way to do it. But sometimes you got to let those guys walk, just like we did with Jonah Jackson. Um, I think both of them were smart to keep, and I'm not complaining about it. I'm just worried that we need to keep seeing the cap have these um, parabolic moves to the upside where these deals don't end up hamstringing us later on, right?
So I understand what you're saying. I love the contract for Sewell. I don't care. He's the cornerstone of that offensive line. You pay that motherfucker whatever he wants. Yeah, I don't give a shit if he plays right tackle and making more than left tackles. He will eventually move over to that left tackle position and be your
Phenomenal.
be a phenomenal left tackle, just like he's a phenomenal fucking right tackle. You pay him, you wrap him up. He wants to own the franchise. You give him a portion of it. You keep him there at all fucking costs.
All right, all right.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is not a true number one wide receiver.
I know, but he's lighting it up for us.
He, at times, can flash that ability and can develop into it, but you don't pay, what is it, $28 million, $30 million
$30
a
million a
year?
year, man.
$30 million a year for somebody that's not a true number one wide receiver.
So what would you have done different?
I don't know.
Because if you let him walk, then you're up a creek. Or do you just make him ride it out and then franchise tag him?
Make his ass ride it out, franchise tag him with the ability to with the intention of signing a long-term deal, not playing on the franchise tag. I absolutely you and I talk about this void year in a contract I think is
Yeah.
fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I don't like that we're doing that.
Currently it does not affect the cap space this year, so in theory we could go out and make a couple a big splash signing of somebody that's still out there, or we could make a trade. But that trade's not going to happen anymore because I thought T. Higgins was prime to be traded from Cincinnati to the Lions. I was
I look at
sure
I look
that
at
was going
T
to happen.
Higgins. I look at T Higgins wildly different in terms of skill set than I do St. Brown. I don't know that I would say it can't happen. You could have those two guys, and you have your big bodied possession guy along with your fucking juiced up slot guy, but you'd be paying a fuckload of money to have both of them.
Exactly. And that's where the issue is. You'd be paying 30 million, $60 million a year to your wide
Yeah.
receivers.
You'd be saying we're winning on offense,
We're winning on
and
offense.
yeah.
Fuck the defense. Fuck Jared Goff. We're not going to re-sign him. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
you're right. You would kind of have to say we're not gonna extend Goff. So
yeah,
then you're looking at Hendon Hooker's got to be the guy, or next year when when Goff is gone, you're drafting a guy.
yeah, exactly. And
Which I mean, James, could there be something to that though? Because you'd be saying we're now all in this year with Higgins, St. Brown, and Goff. If you could fit Higgins in on under the cap this year. I guess that's the question.
you could fit him in under the cap. They have 26 million of
So
cap
I mean, you'd
space.
be you'd be putting the writing on the wall to Goff. That's, hey man, you need to play your ass off because your next contract is not here. I mean, it's almost like you're going all in and you're giving everybody all the incentive to go all in with you.
Yes.
But
I
after this year, it's totally fucking unknown what happens.
mhm. And I don't want to.
You want to
Yes,
have some longevity with this run.
exactly. I want to have the longevity with the run. I think they fucked up by paying St. Brown such a high annual value in his contract and kind of are cutting themselves off from going out and making a trade for like a T. Higgins who could be a true number one, a better true number one than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think what you do is you make St. Brown finish out his fucking contract because he still had a year left. Make him play this year on that contract. Do it again, and then if he does it again, just fucking franchise tag him and then sign him.
Yeah, and maybe have them be bitter as fuck, right? But that's the business side of it.
Yeah, that's the business side of it. And it's so what if he's bitter as fuck? Let him and he walks and he says, you know what? I'm not going to sign the franchise tag. Okay, well go sign with somebody else then and give us two fucking number one picks
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. Hurt your value, or maybe somebody wants you that bad that we get paid in a different way.
Yeah,
Man,
I absolutely hate the St. Brown contract. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it.
all right. See, because I've started to grow really fond of St. Brown.
I
When we,
like St. Brown. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
$30 million a year is way too much for him.
it's overpaying unless the cap just keeps going crazy up. And then Brad Holmes looks like a genius because then it's like, hey, you signed a guy to what seemed like a massive deal, but 2 years from now, it actually looks like it's pretty palatable. But that means the cap just has to keep freaking exponentially growing, right?
See, but here's the thing for the cap hit on St. Brown. I like how it's structured cap hit wise.
Okay. Oh yeah, because it
So
kind of peaks and then comes down.
this year it's like a five. He has a $5 million cap hit. Next year it only goes up to 13 million or 14 million.
What do you think the deal would be for Higgins? Because he's on the tag, but you know if you're going to trade for him, you're going to have a deal in hand before you make the trade, right?
Yeah, like
You think
it's
Higgins is going to get 30 like St. Brown?
I think Higgins will be in the my. I think his value's somewhere in the 25 to $30 million range.
Yeah, you can't have 60 million in wide receivers.
Yeah, that's what I would rather flip it and give St. Brown the 20 to 25 million and T Higgins the 30 million.
But with your cap games, you could pull it off hypothetically.
Yeah, and in theory, with the void year,
Yeah,
they could do some shit in 27 or 26 when the cap hits 33 million, convert some of that to a signing bonus, and then spread that over further where and drop the cap hit by 10 million. And yeah, in theory, the cap number is going to go up next year. So like, and then the year after that. So it's fine with the 2026 having a $33 million cap hit. What I don't like is 2028 where it's more than a $40 million cap hit for St. Brown.
that's
And
where the
this
void year comes in
right,
because because they're going to say, hey, at that point you've either been totally worth it or not, and we're going to restructure to push it out a year, maybe extend you or whatever, or it's like, it's not worth it, and the debt, probably there's no guaranteed money left, and they were like, okay, now we're going to, bounce you or do whatever that way. But
that's the thing with it. Going into the 2028 season, the Lions don't have a fucking out because
okay,
the dead cap hit, the cap hit, if so it's a $41 million cap hit with him on the roster. It only saves them $4 million for cutting him.
yeah, that's fucked. So you would have to extend him before
Wait, no, no,
then,
no, 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 no,
or
no, no, no,
restructure him
no,
before then.
no. Rewind. It would be, it would only the dead. I flipped them looking at it.
Sure.
So there is an out. There is an out after 2025 where it would save them 23 million against the cap. 2026 it would save them 22 million, and 2026 would save them 3 million. After 26 and 27 it would save them 23 million, 23 million, 23 million, then 38 million going in 2028 if they.
Gotcha.
So it is an out. I flipped it when I was looking at it.
Okay. All right.
And if a restructure, if they restructured after, like, there's savings in there too for restructuring or giving him an extension. The only difference is if they extend him,
Yeah,
there's a certain amount that will hit even if they send him, it'll cost them an extra like $1 million in the void year.
I gotcha. Yeah, see, the Sewell, I don't know. I mean, I guess what's done is done, but the Sewell one now makes me think we got to be finding a way to shepherd out Taylor Decker because it seems like we're going to have to just keep drafting guys on that offensive line and keep some of it a little bit more palatable economically. I
Right,
did like
but
that we brought in Zeitler, and
with
I like
Sewell,
that we brought back Graham Glasgow, but um, we're going to have to draft guys and get them on rookie contracts on that offensive line, man.
but that's the thing with Sewell is Sewell contract does not take effect until the 2026 season.
All right, so
In
we're fine.
effect, in effect, they pick up the fifth year option on his rookie contract. So then you have the 2025 season, and in effect, there'd be 26, 27, 28, 29.
Yeah,
When you're
so we
paying
got
him,
2 years. We got 2 years to figure out Decker and replacements.
yes, exactly. So by the time the contract hits, Sewell could be our left tackle.
Yep. Yeah, Zeitler will be gone. Glasgow will be gone. Well, we will have already had to go to that draft well a few
Hmm.
times. No, I like that. It gives us plenty of time to work out a plan. I think it's very strategic by Brad Holmes, to be honest, now that you're explaining it that way, because it's giving us a lot of runway to figure out where we're going next. But St.
Exactly.
Brown is the one that hits you right in the face.
Yeah, St. Brown. Well, St. Brown doesn't.
In
The thing,
terms of the 30 million a year, he's obviously the guy. We're not going to bring in another guy, that kind of thing.
right? But St. Brown's contract, this new contract, doesn't go into effect till after this year.
Yeah, but you're not gonna trade for a guy like Higgins and ride out his franchise 1 year deal unless
True,
you could trade almost nothing to get him.
true. Like, but you could trade for Higgins and give him a 2 year deal.
Yeah, he's not gonna want that.
He's not going to want that, or he would want that because then he could look at it as I can prove I'm that true number one and deserve that true number one.
Yeah, maybe he looks at the Lions and he says, "This is a team on the up and up. I've got another good wide receiver with me, phenomenal offensive line, good quarterback. I'm just jumping from one team to another out of spite for the Bengals, and I get a short-term deal to prove myself and then catapult somewhere else."
Yeah,
I think it's
or
unlikely, but you never know.
or or parlay that into a um have do it as a 2 year deal with a player option for the third year
Okay.
or some shit like that,
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
or a mutual player or team option for the third year where either one can invoke it.
So, I lost one of these. Oop, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Yeah, my right one went out. Um, so, turned out to be a little bit more of a heated question of the week than I thought, but it's good to talk about it, man, because it's team building and it affects a lot going forward, obviously, for our favorite team, right? And so I'm glad we got to talk it out, man.
Bam.
All right, James, that's all I got, my man. Do you have any closing questions, comments, concerns, jokes, insults, anything of the like?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I think
well
that's
then,
all I had. Just looking forward to the draft and being right on with my picks that I told you were wrong on.
well, I'm not sure that we're going to find out tomorrow, but we will the next day. And yeah, I guess time will tell. So I hope you have a good night, my man. Anybody who's watching, hope you like the show. Hit the subscribe, the like, all that fun stuff. And I'm sure we'll be talking as the picks get made tomorrow, James. I'll hit you up on Facebook or something.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking too. We tend to always figure bitch about something here or there.
Yeah. And hey, the Lions don't pick until later. So it kind of works out because I'm going to be coming back from a spring Christmas concert at the kids' school. So I'll probably miss some of the first couple picks, but, family stuff takes priority, man. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I hear you there.
All right, bud. Have a good night. I'll catch you later.
All right, sounds good.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.